He did not rent her for pleasure. He rented her for time to stop a sale he could not bear to watch. On the bright, cruel decks of Port Meridian, where people became items and names turned into numbers, a human man signed a contract that could get him killed. He promised to return her by dawn. He did not. By the next night, he came back with something far more dangerous than desire. He came back with the intention to buy her freedom. And that is where everything began. The station called itself a city. It was not. It was a market shaped like a ring, turning slow against a dead star. The floors were clean because it helped sales. The light was golden because it flattered skin, scales, and fur. Music hid the sound of fear. People wore smiles that did not reach their eyes. He arrived with a small bag and large mistakes behind him. His name was Jace Meridian, a salvage pilot from the human frontier. He had hands like old tools and a face that said he had lived through winters that did not end when spring came. He did not drink. He did not gamble. But he came to a place that sold what should never be sold. They called it the Companion Hall, because softer words make sharper things easier to touch. The hall's master was a thin man with a wide grin. His eyes worked like scanners. His voice was sweet and false. Jace said, "I'm here to rent someone." The master smiled. "Of course." "A contract for the night." He slid a tablet across the bar. "We have many choices." Jace did not look at the list. He already knew the name. He had heard it in the docks, in the broken chatter of workers who spoke like people who had given up and learned to live with it. Lira, Sarathi female, adult, bonded contract. Auction pending. He had seen her once from a distance. She had skin the color of pale dusk and faint, slow lights beneath it, like far stars under thin clouds. The Sarathi were known for such gentle glow. Her hair, if it could be called that, fell in bright, soft strands that changed hue with her heart rate. When she walked, it seemed like night moving with a lantern inside. Jace said, "Lira, I want Lira." The master's smile paused for just a breath. "Expensive taste. I have the credits," Jace said. He put his small bag on the bar. It clinked. Inside were stacks of old coins from ruined ships and a thin chip with the rest. Years of work scooped into a bag. "Why her?" the master asked, pretending curiosity. "If I may?" "Because she is for sale tomorrow," Jace said. "And tonight I want to give her a choice." The master laughed. "Choice? My dear human, this is a contract station. Choices are printed, stamped, filed, and most importantly, paid for." Jace did not answer. The master waved a hand. A door opened. Lira stepped through. She did not look afraid. She looked careful. People on the edge learn to wear that look early and never take it off. "Lira," the master said, warm as a salesperson's light. "This is Jace. He has rented you for the night." Her eyes met Jace's. They were silver with a dark, calm center. "Do you understand?" The master asked her. "I understand," she said, voice soft but steady. "Where do you want me to go?" Jace swallowed and found his words. "With me, we will walk. No drinks, no room. I only want your time." The master blinked, then forced his smile back into place. "As you wish." The collar records distance and duration. Return her by dawn. They stepped out into the ring's gentle spin. The station air smelled like clean metal and sweet spice. Jace kept his hands by his sides. Lira walked one pace behind, as taught by contracts that turned bodies into tasks. "You can walk beside me," he said. She moved up to his shoulder. "You paid for me to walk?" "I paid to keep you from the auction," he said. "For a few hours." She watched his face with those calm, silver eyes. "You know that a few hours end?" "Yes," he said. "That is why I need to talk fast." They walked the long arc of the marketplace. He told her who he was. A scavenger of old hulls. A man who had failed at more than one thing but still tried to do one right thing when he saw it. He had heard her name in the repair bay from a friend who owed him a favor. "They will sell her tomorrow," the friend had said. "The winning bid will belong to Syndic Vero. He breaks what he buys." Lira listened without expression. The soft lights under her skin faded and brightened with her breath, like a tide. "Why do you care?" she asked. "Because my mother taught me that a person is not a price," he said. "Because I thought of my sister. Because I have seen too many auctions and too many empty rooms after." "Many say this," Lira said. "They say it from a safe distance." She looked down at the slim band at her neck. "They do not sign their names." "I signed," he said. "I signed for tonight, and I plan to sign again tomorrow," She stopped. The glow under her skin lifted, surprised. You cannot afford my contract. The auction will go high. Jace's jaw worked. I cannot outbid Varro, but I can outmaneuver him. They reached a quiet place by a viewport. Outside, the dead star was a small, dark coin. The ring's light fell like warm rain inside. How? She asked. Jace took a breath. Your contract has a clause. I read it. Section 13, Sub 9. Compassionary redemption. If someone proves you were obtained under duress, there is a path to buy you out, not as property, but as a person with rights. The price is high, but it is a price for freedom, not ownership. Lira's voice thinned. You think there is proof? I think there can be, he said. If we make it. Her eyes searched his. She tried to find the trap. She did not find it. What she found was a man who had nothing to sell but his own future, and he was ready to spend it. She said, Why me? Because you were the first name I heard, he said. Because I could not sleep after. Because if I cannot save everyone, I will save someone. And then I will try again. She turned to the glass. The dark star did not care. It did not bless or curse. It only existed, as old things do. What do you need from me? She asked. Truth, he said. And time. Tonight we gather proof. Tomorrow I file, I fight, and I pay. If we fail, you run when I tell you to. If we succeed, you do not belong to anyone. She touched the collar, very lightly. The lights under her skin shifted, like dawn under water. You think you can win in a place like this? No, he said. I think I can make them lose. They began. The night turned into a wire pulled tight between two hands. First, they went to the medical wing. The collar recorded vital data. So did the implant in Lira's wrist. The implant had logs. Old logs. Jace knew a medic who owed him a ship's engine. Debts move faster than rail cars out here. The medic scanned Lira, frowned, and moved through menus with a shrug that said, I am not seeing this. Microfracture history in both ankles. A healed rib. Malnutrition markers 2 years ago. Workload spikes that matched the timeline of her voluntary contract. It told a quiet story that was loud in the right office. They took a copy. Then they visited a Sarathi vendor who knew Lira's family name. Not all information is numbers. Some of it is memory. The vendor, old and kind, had eyes that watered when he saw her. He kept a record of her recruitment, a scholarship that had turned into a bond. The signature on that document was not hers. It was very close, but not hers. He provided a sworn statement, recorded in 3 languages. They took that too. Finally, they went to an observation deck where the companion handlers kept a schedule. Jace had done repairs there before. He knew the ventilation. He knew how to slip a camera eye away from a corner without tripping an alarm. He did not steal. He recorded. A handler yelling. A threat. A shove. The camera's angle did not catch faces, but it caught a wrist with a tattoo and a voice with a name. Varro's lieutenant. The night bled toward dawn. Lira did not sit, though her legs shook. Jace wanted to tell her to rest. He did not. They both knew the weight of minutes. They returned to the hall as the morning chimes rose. The master was waiting with a smile he did not need to fake anymore. Did you enjoy your night? He asked. Jace put the collar's control baton on the counter without touching the release. We spent it building a case for Section 13, Sub 9. The smile broke like thin glass. The master's eyes went cold. You will return her now. Jace nodded. For 1 hour. Then I will file. He looked at Lira. I will be back. If I am late, do not wait. Go to the medic's bay. He will hide you. Lira's hand hovered by his sleeve and then fell. She gave a small nod that felt like trust learning to take its first step. He ran. The station's legal office sat above the casino, because chance and law are cousins when money writes the rules. Jace hit the desk like a storm. He paid the filing fees. He uploaded the logs. He flagged the clause. He triggered a mandatory hold on the auction. A board clerk checked the digital seal, saw the appropriate bribe attached, Jace's last reserve, and stamped the stay. Arbitration in 20 hours, the clerk said, unimpressed. You will lose. I only need a fair fight, Jace said. You will not get one, the clerk said, and yawned. News travels on stations the way heat travels through metal. By midday, Syndic Varro knew. He sent 2 men to talk. They found Jace in a corridor lined with potted trees that had never seen real rain. The men smiled like wolves who had learned to use words. Withdraw, one said. No, Jace said. They moved. Jace moved faster. He was not a fighter, but he had fixed ships in gravity that shifted and in air that lied. He knew balance and speed. The second man reached for a knife. Jace broke his wrist with a neat, quick motion that had more mercy than the man deserved. Security arrived, late and uninterested. Varro's men left with curses. Jace left with bruises and a set jaw. Evening came. The ring lights warmed. The market played its music. Lira sat in a small, clean room with a wall that looked like a window. She did not sleep. The master came to see her. "You should tell your human not to show up tomorrow," he said, voice smooth but tight. "He will come," she said. "Then you should prepare to say goodbye," he said. "Varro does not lose." She looked at her hands. "Neither do the stars. Yet every dawn changes the sky." The master laughed, but it was a thin thing. Arbitration began under white lights that made everyone look honest. Varro arrived with his suit and his smile and a lawyer whose eyes never stopped moving. Jace arrived with a small bag, empty now, and a medic, a vendor, and a copy of A Hard Truth. The arbitrator, a woman with clean nails and a bored expression, looked at the filings. "Human, you claim compassionary redemption. You will pay the assessed fee if approved." "Yes," Jace said. "You will also assume responsibility for the subject's housing, health and legal protection for one cycle," she said. "Yes," Jace said. Varro's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, the subject entered this contract voluntarily. No duress. My client manages all bonds legally." Jace's turn came. He did not make a speech. He put facts on the table like simple tools: the medical logs, the false signature, the recording of the threat, the vendor's statement, the pattern of payments that made escape impossible by design, not accident. Lira spoke only once. She stood straight and kept her voice level. "I am not an item. I am Lira of Sarath. I did not sign that contract. I was told to press my hand on a page. I was told it was for scholarship travel. I was hungry. My family was hopeful. I woke up with a collar." Varro's smile fought to stay alive. "Her word against the seal," he said. "Anyone can make a story." The arbitrator sighed like a person who expected dull work and found a small fire instead. She looked at the false signature. She looked at the log. She listened again to the threat on the recording, the casual promise of harm said in a hall where people were supposed to be safe. She rubbed her eyes. "This station sells illusions," she said softly, maybe to herself, "and then punishes people when they break." Silence spread like a cloth over a table. She stamped the form. "Compassionary redemption granted," she said. "Contract void. Fees assessed per schedule." She looked at Jace almost with pity. "You cannot afford this," Jace nodded. "I can," he said, and handed over the last chip. He had saved a small reserve in a place no one would think to look, the maintenance ledger of a ship with a dead name. He had worked for years, and this was what he had been saving for without knowing it. A chance to spend everything on something that mattered. The transfer cleared. The collar at Lira's neck gave a soft click. "It opened like a hand unmaking a fist," Varro's lawyer hissed. Varro's smile died. The master of the hall watched and learned nothing. Jace turned to Lira. He did not touch her. "You are free," he said. Lira lifted the collar from her neck. The faint lights under her skin brightened, then settled to a gentle, steady glow, like a harbor found at last. "Am I?" she asked, voice very quiet. "Yes," he said. "You owe me nothing." She looked at him a long moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. "I owe you a choice," she said, "and I will use it." They walked out into the ring. The market music played. People pretended not to look. The stars did what stars always do. For a while, that was the end. But endings are only places to rest. Jace found a small room near the docks. It had a window that showed a sliver of dark space. He slept on the floor the first night because he had given up the bed to buy a person's future. Lira slept with the door open because she could. She learned to laugh again, slowly. She took off her shoes in the morning and watched sunlight simulation rise on the walls. She went back to the old vendor and called him Uncle, as her people do for elders. She ate sweet bread and sour fruit, and her lights pulsed fast when she liked something. Jace fixed ships. He did not talk much. When he did, it was to say honest things. People asked what Lira was to him. He said, "She is herself." Some smiled. Some frowned. Varro watched from a distance and waited for a chance to hurt them. He would not get it. The arbitration had drawn eyes, and eyes can be stronger than doors. Time passed like safe water. Lira began to teach children in a corner of the station where the floor was always warm. She taught them how to count by stars and how to speak in ways that did not make their mouths small. She taught them stories of Sarath where rivers shine like knives and people sing with open hands. Jace watched from the doorway, pretending to fix a panel. One evening, as the ring lights went soft and the market noise fell to a friendly hum, Lira came to the tiny room. She stood by the window and looked at the dead star. Her lights were calm and bright. "Jace," she said. He put down the tool. "I used my choice," she said. "I used it to be free. Now I want to use it again." He waited. She stepped closer. "Buy me forever." Was the wrong sentence, she said. "But promise me forever, if you can, might be the right one." Jace's mouth opened and closed because he was a man who could face knives but not easy words. "I will try," he said.
"I will try every day," she smiled.
It was small and clear. "Then I will try too." He reached out, not to claim, not to own, but to hold the hand of a person who had taught him what money is for and what it is not. They did not marry that day. They did something harder. They built. They went back to the legal office, and they filed for a status that did not exist on the station yet. A refuge designation. A small official word that would allow people to step out of contracts that were knives with pretty handles. The clerk rolled her eyes. Jace smiled. Lira wrote a proposal in careful words. The medic signed. The vendor signed. Others signed. New paper covered old sins like fresh paint over scorched walls, and beneath it steel was laid. It took months. It took arguments and work and the kind of patience that breaks stones. There were bad nights. There were good mornings. And one day, the station announced a new policy. No more auctions for sentient companions without independent counsel. It was not perfect. It was better. Vero left for a place where the lights were dim and the rules were softer. The master sold the hall and took his grin to another station with another name. People still bought what they should not. People still sold what they should protect. But now there was a door that led away and a light above it that did not go out. On a quiet evening, Jace stood in his little room and watched Lira hang a small lantern by the window. She had made it by hand, the old Sarathi way, with thread and patience. It glowed with a gentle pulse, matched to her heartbeat. It was not a collar. It was a home sign. He said, "Do you miss the rivers of your world?" She said, "Sometimes. But then I look at you and I think, a river is not only water. It is movement and change, and the way two shores learn to belong to each other." He laughed, a soft, unpracticed sound. She took his hand again. "You rented me for one night," she said. "You bought my freedom the next. And after that we both chose. That is how love should begin." And in the slow spin of the station, against a star that had burned itself to silence, two people made a small, bright vow, not ownership, not rescue told over and over like a story with sharp edges, but the daily work of freedom, chosen together, again and again. That is how a human became dangerous to the right enemies, by loving someone in a way that could not be priced. That is how he turned one night into forever. On Port Meridian, they still whisper this story when the market grows quiet. They say a human paid everything he had, and somehow it made him rich. They say a Sarathi woman walked beside him, not behind him, and her lights never dimmed again. They say that on some nights when the ring is very still, you can see a small lantern glowing in a window, and you can almost hear a promise that was kept.